we are inside of Adobe After Effects, and we're going to go over some tips of how to create this simple animation right here. Awesome. A little like video hack intro sequence that I had right here. Huzzah. There we go. There's the sound. Sin, Alejandro, Magdiel, what's up? We're back. We got some audio. Sorry about that, guys. Like I said, I'm going to blame it on my cold, right? Not on my lack of turning my volume button up. All right, so we're running into 5 minutes into the stream, so I want to get started here. So as I mentioned, let's just try to recreate these four shapes right here. So the first thing we're going to do is go to File. We're just going to go over here, New Composition. We're going to create our composition. We're going to call this Adobe Live Challenge 2. And I want to make this a 4K sequence, and we're going to press OK. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is right click, and I'm going to add a shape layer. All right. So you could either do that, or if you go up here to your shape sort of toolbar, if you will, I'm just going to go to the ellipse tool, and I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm going to drag this out. And this allows me to create a perfect circle. If I didn't hold Shift, now you're creating sort of any size ellipse. But in this case, I want a perfect circle, hold Shift. And then what I'm going to do is double click, Command on my keyboard, and double click this anchor tool right here to make sure that my anchor point is now centered in the center of my shape. And we're going to come over here to the align properties, and I'm going to align all these properties to the center of the frame. All right. So that's our first shape. But what I want to do is I want to make sure that this just has a stroke and no fill. All right. So the thing we're going to do, we're going to turn the opacity down on our fill here, and we're going to take our stroke, and let's move this to like 40. All right, we're going to hide this right here so we can actually see, and let's change that color to something we can actually see. Okay, so for some reason, let's actually do this again. I just toggled my transparency grid right here, so I'm going to actually let's go back here, and I don't have a stroke right now. So if I click on my shape, the reason that it wasn't showing up is we have a fill property and not a stroke. We want to do the inverse. So I'm going to click the fill, and I'm going to click this little red icon here. That means that we're not going to have a fill in this shape. And then I'm going to take my stroke, and I'm going to move that to 30. And I'm going to change the color of this stroke to something like an orange. All right. And now if I hold Shift, we have this really cool shape. I'm holding Shift down to move this around as I need it. And then we're going to do the same thing as before. We're going to just double click this, make sure our align properties are good to go. And I like to keep all of my panels and my workspaces up so that I can reference that as I'm going along. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is take this shape. Okay, now what we want to do, if we look back at our reference, is we want to actually make these sort of like circles come together, and that's called a trim path. And you can do that because it's a shape layer that we can continue to add properties to. So if I go here to the Add button, and if I just toil this down, you'll see that I have all these different properties. If you're brand new to After Effects, this is a great way to get introduced to how to animate some of these shape properties and so on. So I'm going to go to Trim Paths. Okay, and what Trim Paths is going to do is it's going to give me a start and an end keyframe parameter. So if I start this at 0 and I go Shift Command, this is going to go up a couple frames, and I add another keyframe, and I go back to the beginning to 0. What you'll see is 0 will start my circle, and it'll basically draw the circle on for me, okay, which is a really cool start. But if we reference what I have here, we'll just solo one of these properties here. We have this really cool animation where not only are we creating the circle, we're then like reversing it as we go, and it just creates a little bit more of a dynamic shape property animation, okay? So how we doing here? Mike, Sin, Magdiel, all right, we're good to go. We got audio. Sounded pretty good. Happy Monday, Robert. Happy Monday, gang. Let's do this. All right. So what I'm going to do is then take my end property. I'm going to move this up one frame. Okay. So I'm going to kind of just offset these. All right. So for end, what I'm going to do is create 0 here. And then I'm going to go K. And this is going to go, actually, this is 0. And this is 100. All right. So if I play this back, we now see that we've created this really cool, it's almost like the shape is following itself, which again, like just this on its own looks pretty cool. It's like that old game of Snake that used to play on Blackberries or old phones back in the day. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do here is I have my keyframes. I'm going to actually create some easy ease properties. So the first thing I like to do is do an easy ease out, okay, and then I'm going to do an easy ease in. All right, and the reason I like to do this, oops, Let's go here, easy ease in. All right, we're gonna highlight this. We're gonna go to our graph editor. This is my speed graph here, and I'm gonna take these parameters and I'm gonna adjust the speed. So basically when this is coming in, now I have something that's a little bit more dynamic. It's a little more just like aesthetically pleasing in terms of an animation. All right, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing to these properties below. We're gonna do easy ease out and easy ease in. And this is like the bread and butter of After Effects, honestly, being able to use these properties, adjust the speed inside of your graph editor window. The second you can start kind of getting these down, all of your animations are gonna look so much more professional. They're gonna look just really polished, and you're gonna be able to have a lot more fun with it. All right, so if we play this back now we have something that looks pretty sweet. All right, so that's our first shape, okay? I just said Command A, and U on my keyboard is going to minimize all of my keyframe properties. All right, now instead of us making this shape again, because we just did all that work with those properties, right? We created that shape, we added those trim paths, we put a lot of work into just this piece of it right here. Oops, what happened here? Oh, let's move these down our timeline, make sure we're starting at the beginning. What I'm gonna do is just duplicate my shape here, Command D on the keyboard, and I'm gonna just like adjust the color, the size, the rotation, certain positions of this shape so that I offset the animation that I've done already. So let's change the color here, excuse me, the color here to, let's go like a lighter white. I'm gonna press Command, and then I'm gonna toggle this down. And what that allows you to do is see every property underneath your layer. So this is a great way to see everything that you can actually animate. In this case, the only thing I really wanna touch is I wanna change this line cap. I wanna make it a rounded shape. So I'm gonna change that to round. Okay, I'm gonna take the stroke width, and I'm gonna make that a lot smaller. So let's make that 15. All right, we're gonna take the scale, so I'm gonna press S on my keyboard, and I'm just gonna move this down to, let's say, like 70. So now we have a shape, if we play this back, that's inside of our other shape, and all we did was duplicate our first shape, because we already did all that work, okay? And I think I wanna offset this a little bit more, so I'm gonna press R on my keyboard, and I'm gonna change the rotation properties to 45 degrees, and then let's press U on the keyboard, and let's just move these keyframes a little bit so we're offsetting the shape. All right, so if I play that back, cool. Now we have basically two of these dynamic shapes interacting with each other in different ways, okay? And we can continue to do this and duplicate this a couple more times. All right, so that's how we are. I keep opening up the wrong thing here. Forgive me for that. All right, we're doing all right here, guys. We're doing all right. Forgive me again for this cold that I have, but we're learning. We're doing some After Effects and we're having a good time. All right, so duplicate again, Command D on our keyboard. We're gonna just press scale. Let's maybe move this up to 120. All right, I wanna make this stroke a lot bigger, so I'm gonna say this is like 120. That's actually too much, so let's go like 80%. Okay, that's kind of a cool shape. Maybe we go a little bit lower. And this is just where you get to have fun. You get to play around. This is a really, really great way to learn the shortcuts inside of After Effects, to learn shape layers, keyframing, all those kind of things. And it shouldn't be that daunting to open this up and hopefully watch this stream back and get a little bit of knowledge from me. Okay, so U on my keyboard, we have these keyframes. I'm just gonna move these around. Maybe I wanna actually adjust the timing of the way that this trim path actually works. So what I'm doing is basically just shortening that timing, so it's gonna be a lot faster. Okay, and let's go back and let's actually change the color. We're gonna go to our color picker, excuse me. Let's change it to something like an orange. And maybe I wanna make this like a dotted line, okay? So I'm gonna do Command and press this again to bring all my properties here, as I mentioned before. Okay, and under here we have round cap, we have round join, and you'll see that there's a property here called dashes. So I'm gonna add dashes to it. All right, oops, there we go. I don't know why that's not giving me a dash though, for some reason. There we go. So our gap was too small. So now I have like these like dashed lines. Maybe I actually want this to be a butt cap. That's kind of cool. All right, so if I play this back now, that's pretty sweet. I mean, this looks totally different than the reference that I provided earlier, but if we play this back, you can see that we're starting to kind of do, let's turn the solo off here, we're starting to sort of create the exact same effect, all right? So let's just add one more shape, and then we will kind of move on. Let's move this. Let's take the scale down to like 50%, make something in the middle. Let's create something, maybe we want some cool like blue in there. Again, this is just me having fun, playing with some things, teaching you what I know, which again is not a lot, but it's some things. All right, and stroke width, let's change that to like 5. All right, so that's like really, really thin. Sweet, that's looking really awesome. We have some super cool dynamic stuff happening inside of After Effects just using 4 shape layers, and the only shape layer we actually created was the first one. Okay, so the beauty of being able to duplicate layers inside of After Effects and then just offset certain properties, like have fun with that and see what you can get. And I think this looks really, really cool just for, you know, a 5-minute little exercise here. Okay, so I'm gonna highlight these. I'm gonna change the color. Let's make that pink. Let's make that pink. There we go. All right, and let's move on. All right, so the next thing we have is we have our text. All right, so the thing we want to bring in is, let's say we want to bring in Adobe Live, okay? So I'm going to play this back. We want our text somewhere in here, all right? So what I'm going to do is right-click, and we're going to add a text layer. All right, I'm just going to type Adobe Live, and this is my default font that's come up because I've already created this, and I actually like the font. But what I want to do is double click here on the anchor tool and center this in the frame. I'm going to do the same thing here with the align properties. I like to just keep things centered at least to start. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want the Adobe Live to really start almost off the frame and then zoom in as if we're in a 3D layer or 3D space, but we're actually in a 2D space. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is go to my scale properties. S on your keyboard is a great way to bring that up, and just drag this all the way up, okay? If I toggle these on and off here, oops, let's bring that back. I'm going to toggle this back, S on my keyboard, and then we're going to go all the way till when this sort of animation ends, and this is where we want to bring the scale to. All right, so let's go to 100%, and I actually like where that's at. All right, we didn't actually add a keyframe there, so let's do that again, and we add a keyframe here. So if I play this back, I actually like this to be a little bit smaller. J and K on your keyboard, again, are a great way to navigate between different keyframes. Another great shortcut inside of After Effects. All right, so we're just going to go here. We're going to take this to, let's say, 70%. All right, and the same thing here. I'm going to actually create my ease out and my ease in. Okay, and if I highlight this, I'm going to go back to my graph editor window. I'm going to drag this out, and we've created a really cool little animation. I think this needs to be a little bit faster, so I'm going to just go and drag these keyframes a little bit closer together and move this to here. Sweet. So I think I want it to come in like that. That looks pretty sweet. Let's actually add a little blur to it. So right here, if I toggle this on and off, this will allow for some really cool motion blur. So if we play this now, sometimes it takes a little while in the render process just because the motion blur can kind of back your computer up a little bit, but it is worth it. It looks really, really cool once it's actually rendered. So if I play this back, boom. So now we have a little bit of motion blur. It makes a little more sense coming into the frame. And I want to maybe take this font here, and I'm going to click this. If we go over to our character window, I want to change this to white. All right, because what I'm going to do now, if we play this back here, you'll see that I have this like almost like a delayed color behind my Adobe Live text. And this is a very simple way to do this. All we're going to do, you're kind of catching on to the theme here, is we're going to duplicate that layer. We're just going to move this down and to the right. We're going to change the color. Let's drag this under. I'm going to press enter on my keyboard and rename this Adobe Live Shadow. And then let's change the color to maybe that cool like red or something that we like here. All right, so if I press Command, now you can see that we have this sort of natural shadow that we added just by duplicating those two things together. So if we play that back, again, this is going to take a few seconds because of the lens blur. Let's just turn that off for now. All right, let's make sure we're good here. All right, and we're playing this back. Cool. Now, all you're going to do is you're going to actually just offset the shadow a little bit. So I'm just going to drag this down maybe a frame or two. And we have our shadow. I actually want to bring this shadow in a little bit closer. Oops. Let's bring this up and over so it's not super apparent. All right. And just like that, we have this really cool little intro sequence that it took us all of 15, 20 minutes to create here inside of After Effects. All right. Reverb mic. All righty. All righty. Everyone is loving it so far. And I am already running low on time. These streams are the best and also make me feel like I need another hour to teach you on here. But honestly, just that alone, we have something really, really dynamic, and we've only really created two different properties. We've created an ellipse shape, and we've created our text shape. So if I play this back, if we want to add a little bit more dynamic afterwards, you'll see here, these shapes, I essentially did the exact same thing just with triangles. So if I wanted to add like another shape here, and it wanted to be a triangle, you can go up to your ellipse tool, and if I press Q on my keyboard, you'll notice that Q now toggles in between all the different shape tools. All right, so the thing to create a triangle is you want a star tool. Okay, so let's just hold shift down, and we're gonna create that star. I'm holding the space bar so I can move this around. Okay, and we're gonna put this in the middle. And if we look at the poly star, you'll notice that it has the path, it has different points, okay? So for a star, you have these 5 points. To create a triangle, it's very, very simple. All you have to do is press 3, and now you've turned that poly star into a triangle. And you can do the exact same thing with the triangle that you did, or that we did with the shape layers, the squares. Okay, so I'm gonna go Command, double click here. I've now put my anchor point in the middle of this polygon or this triangle. Align tool. Same thing. We're just going to solo this. So this is how you can solo properties. You can hide properties so that you're only working on one thing. All right, I want to take the stroke down to, let's say, like 25%. Okay, and I'm going to do the exact same thing here. I'm going to go to Add, Trim Paths. We're going to do our Start. We're going to go down the way here, Start, and then I'm going to go 100 and 0. Okay, so now if I play this back, we now have our animation of our triangle, okay, in the trim path. And if we go a couple more frames and we offset that end property, we're going to do the exact same thing here. We're going to start this at 0, and then this, we're going to start that at 100. And here we go. Whoops, whoops, whoops. That's 0, and this is 100. What's happening here? Doom. Oh, it's because I'm not actually adjusting this for some reason. This is 100 and this needs to be 0. There we go. That's what was happening. Sometimes these things happen. Cool. Now we created this really cool dynamic shape. You know, if you drag this out a little bit more, you can leave the the trim path on the screen for a little bit longer. Again, if we wanted to duplicate this, you know, this process is sort of, it's tedious, but the quicker you get at it, the more you do it, the quicker you'll get at creating little shortcuts for yourself of these different properties. Again, we're going to go back in here. This keyframe assistant is going to be your best friend inside of After Effects. Once I started learning the graph editor and really how to actually come in here and adjust certain speeds, it was just a total game changer for me. And I honestly think that is a great place to start. Start experimenting, start putting shapes to your canvas, and just see what happens. And it's a really, really fun way to start creating some of these dynamic things inside of After Effects. All right, so that's our shape right here. Again, we can continue to duplicate that. We can offset this property a little bit, and we can change the stroke again to 45. Maybe we want to change the scale to 125, rotation 90. So now we have like different shapes overlapping each other. It's really, really cool to see these things kind of work together. And again, we really haven't done all that much other than just adding a couple shape layers and adding a couple text properties. All right, so if I play this back, we can really see, let's hide our soloed properties. So we have this, boom, boom. All right, so if we had some more time, I know we're kind of running low on it right here, we would finish out this animation here. But again, as I mentioned, this is in your starter files. This is in the link in the description. It will be in the link on YouTube. So feel free to take this project file, run with it, make it your own, create your own sort of animation for a YouTube intro, or just practice. It's really, really good practice to, you know, get in the habit of being inside of After Effects and learning these techniques. All right, and I think that kind of about wraps it up here for me. Unfortunately, we are running low on time. So thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. Apologies on the little audio issue that we had in the beginning of the stream, but hopefully we can get that fixed. And make sure to follow Adobe Live on YouTube. Follow them on Instagram. Shoot me a message on Instagram, and I am super, super excited to continue this weekly challenge next Monday. And ask any questions that you have. Come and join the chat on Behance. And again, thank you so much to everyone for tuning in today, and happy editing, everyone. I'm super, super excited to see what you create. Stick around on Behance today. There are a lot more creatives teaching all sorts of tips inside of video, motion, graphic, photography, you name it. So thank you for being a part of the community, and I will see you next Monday. Take care, everyone.